I'm not going to do videos about bad wines. I'm just not going to do it. But I will tackle all the wines that I haven't made separate videos for. And that includes the ones that I didn't really agree with or didn't really agree with me, to put it politely. That's kind of what this is all about. Wrap up a few of the wines I had that I'm not going to make separate videos for, whether they were good or whether they were bad. If they're good, I give them a rose. If they're bad, I give them a raspberry. It's that simple. What are we waiting for? Let's go. 2022 Auxey-Duresses sur Melin, and that's mise en bouteille by Dugat-Py. It's the second year in a row I've gone for some entry-level Dugat-Py. I wasn't particularly impressed last year. This year, what do we got in the glass? Nice youthful color, but you know, the standard I would suppose for 2022, a bit darker and nice cherry red to it with some black sort of tones. Yeah, nice nose too, very pretty high red fruited nose. And, you know, it's Dugat-Py, and I mean, Dugat-Py's signature is always that really roasted coffee effect, obviously from the wood treatment. I like it, I like the roast. I just don't think that it serves a lot of the wines, at least early on. I haven't tried enough old Dugat-Py to be any kind of expert on it. I wouldn't claim to be, but I've never been happy with them. The ones that I did, the Grand Crus and the older ones that I did manage to buy back in the day, they were always corked, almost always corked. And not that there was a lot of them, but the ones I did have were corked. That's a lovely little wine, you know. The fruit is very bright, and it's been open overnight. I think early on when you first open it, that really roasted effect dominates. Today the fruit is actually, it's like the red Twizzler, but there's a depth to it, I think, that roasting gives. For a cheaper wine, I think it's very good. It's kind of individual, you know, it's stylistically, it sort of stands out. I don't think it's going to be for everybody, but I bet you this matches up really, really good with a steak. There's no great depth, there's no great length, there's no great mid-palate, nothing like that. It's like a serious vin de soif, that's what I would say. 2021 Domaine Roulot Bourgogne Blanc. I loved this wine last year. It was fantastic. I kept going back to the store. The rule was if you finished one, you had to bring the empty bottle back if you wanted another one. One of those quirky little French things. I guess to prevent resales on the open market, they're charging 41 euros a bottle. I think you'll get a lot more on the secondary market. It's a Bourgogne Blanc, but it is Domaine Roulot. What do we get in the glass? Lovely color, hasn't advanced very much, but I think it's a little deeper than it was last year. On the nose, it's absolutely precious, absolutely precious. Beautiful, beautiful lime, a bit of pear. I always find the pear with Roulot. There's a ripeness to it that has a kind of, oh, maybe it's been open overnight as well, so that probably helps a little. There's a dusty dryness to this. I noted yesterday when I was eating with it, I made some tuna and kind of a spicy sauce in the tuna, and this was too much wine for that dish. So there's more to this than just generic Bourgogne Blanc. It's got a lot of presence, I would say. Like it's announced itself at the ball. It's not debutante, but it's making sure that people have noticed it. Some phenomenal little nutty characteristics. It's crazy, but I get a little bit of carrot, almost that herbal sort of greenness from a carrot top. Don't ask me where I'm getting that. And it's not really a wine note either, is it? But sometimes, you know, you pick up these things, I think, in wine, and I think it's okay to just express them. You should. We don't have to stick to the standard terminology that everybody's been using forever. I think that's a good base, but like language, it should evolve. I really like this. I love the mid palate. The mid palate's fleshy. It's not opulent, but it's wider. It's not a laser beam or anything like that. It's expanded a bit. I could drink this all day long. Really, really good, and really a little bit bigger than you might think. This is the perfect restaurant wine. And I mean, if I can buy this retail for 41, there's no reason a restaurant should be charging more than 75. They will, of course. They'll charge 120, but an honest restaurant wouldn't. They would charge you 60 to 80, somewhere in there, and that would be a phenomenally excellent value. Rose. 2020 Domaine Roulot Bourgogne Aligoté. What do we got in the glass? Ooh, look at that. Holy herbal richness, Batman. Oh, wow. Yeah. It's quite nice. It's got a silkiness to it that's good, but it's also got that herbal, well, that herbal scratch of Aligoté that's never really been my cup of tea. A lemony sort of dusty dryness to it. Not particularly long, but very voluptuous, very rich. And it's a softer Aligoté, you could say. It's more in the Roulot style, but it's as far away from the Bourgogne as you're ever going to get, considering that's a Chardonnay, and that's got that lovely softness and tiptoey touch to it. This is much more, wow, let's drink kind of wine. I've never really understood the attraction to Aligoté. It's not my favorite grade. It's not my favorite style of wine. There's a high acidity to it. That's kind of nice. It gives it a kind of a juicy, mouth-watery feel, but then that dry herbal thing kicks in and almost makes it a bit medicinal. For me, it's a bit rustic. It's even from a great producer like this. Fun to drink, but really, I think I'd rather stick with Chardonnay more most of the time. Yeah, I suppose if I have to drink some Aligoté, this would be the source. 2022 Monthelie, Domaine Roulot. I've never tried the Monthelie from Domaine Roulot. Don't really go out of my way to drink the reds from Domaine Roulot. Don't know why. Possibly because I tend to think of him as being a white wine producer, probably better at that than at reds. Do I want to spend my money there? What do we got in the glass? It's purple. I mean, it's super, super young. When I first opened this, I have to say I was, oh my God, here we go. I'm right about Roulot being much better at whites than reds. It was a very vivacious and kind of happy-go-lucky red that seemed pretty simple and, hey, boy, life is great. Almost like a happy little puppy that follows you around, is very loyal and loves you to death and will follow you to the ends of the earth. After about 5 minutes, this beautiful, beautiful cherry fruit just grew and grew and grew, and then it got serious. The wine got serious. It got serious enough to be called, I think, a fine wine, personally. Like it grew into the 90s from the 80s in terms of points. It's gorgeous. Quite a bit of tannin, enough to give it structure late in the wine, and even, I would say, through the last third. So it's affecting the mid-palate as well, which is nice. It's a nice extension. There's a muskiness to it, an almost exotic woods type of nose, like sandalwood. It's a really attractive wine. It maybe doesn't have I wouldn't say the mineral precision and, that fine bone structure that you might like from a top-end Burgundy. But it's not a top-end Burgundy. It's a Monthelie. I don't know that they're supposed to be all that serious, are they? But this is just such a well-crafted wine. It's such a joyful, happy, like I said, it's my loyal little puppy that loves me to death, and the love goes right back. This is a rose for sure. 2020 Hautes-Côtes de Beaune from Marthe Henri. I think her full name is Marthe Henri Boyot, an ex-journalist from Paris who is taking over the family vineyards in Burgundy, but most of this is from purchased grapes, purchased from friends, etc., etc. So what do we got in the glass? It's still kind of purple. It's still got very young looking. That could be an effect of the vintage, which is, 2020. It's a powerful, although this wine's only 12.5%, which I appreciate. And this is super heady pipe tobacco, and it's a bit plummy and almost stewed cherries a bit. Stewed cherries, I think, and cinnamon. It drinks almost like a Bordeaux. It's got this candied element to it that's it's very crystalline, but gosh, that cinnamon is so prevalent and beautiful in this. This is such a well-crafted wine. Again, I'm getting lucky with these producers this year who are just crafting these wonderful things, right in my fine wine range as well, right? This is another one that's under 50 euros. I thought it was a fuller, richer wine yesterday, and maybe it's because it's been in the fridge. Nice mid-palate, composed, careful. It tiptoes along. There's some roses in here. There's some underbrush in here. It's very, very Pinot. It's very, very Burgundy. Also fairly tannic through the last third and into the finish. a little bit longer finished than, say, the Monthelie, and a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more flash. This is a flashier kind of boom, ba-dum, ba-dum, boom, boom, walking down the street, showing my stuff. It's got a little bit of personality. It wants to play. You know what I mean? It doesn't mind being not at the center of attention, but it doesn't want to be ignored. I still say there's a greenness in this. That reminds me of Bordeaux, which is hilarious. I know that she made a Merlot, but she made it in Burgundy. Maybe it's got to do with the underbrush. Maybe it's the wood effect. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking through my ass. That's probably more like it. Very, very good. I think it's got a little soupy element to it, maybe a beef stock or a veal stock even. Probably a good wine with a pot-au-feu. I think it's got the hardiness to be drank in the winter. Definitely gonna chase down some more Monthelie because these are good. Another rose. Finally got my hands on some red wines from Jeremy Recchione. If you've been following the channel at all, you know that when I drank the Blanc Vergelès some time ago, I put out a little unicorn alert. I was quite impressed with that wine, and I was a little curious. And I made a promise to myself and to everybody else that I would try and find some reds. What are they like? Let's find out. What do we got in the glass? Quite dark, almost tea-like in a way. A bit of a dull color. It's not as purple as I thought it was going to be, but at the same time it is. It's almost a gamay colored. I've had this open for a couple of days now, and what struck me about this bottle and the other bottle as well, when you put the cork in and then you pull the cork out, it pops with a very audible, gassy release. And you know, there's some nice licorice, black licorice, very astringent tannins, and a very medicinal herbal mid-palate, some savory ham or roasted ham type of thing. It's a bit more plummy, but a bright fruit, a sort of vivacious fruit. And like I said, it's been open 3 days and it's a little worse for wear now. So it's starting to get that little bit of, you know, broken in shoe type of nose to it that new wines get when they've been open a little bit longer than they should have been. Which is perfectly normal. I don't think that that's necessarily a problem. What I do have a problem with is I don't think this is a very attractive wine. I'm going to come right out and say it. Well, there's no point in spending a lot of time with this. Yeah, it's got some Twizzlers, it's got some energy, but it's way too astringent and way too rustic, especially at the price. These are 60 euros a bottle. It's what I don't like about Vin Nature. When they're made like this, they're too raw for me. If you call this low intervention, then I think you should have intervened. That's the only thing I can say. I don't know how you would make a case for this being a good wine. Disappointed. What do we got in the glass? Same color, I would say, like a deep stewed tea with a bit of a purple tinge to it. Quite dark. Also an exuberant fruit, but less sharp, less frayed around the edges. Yeah, this is a bit better. It's still very tannic. I think the fruit still feels a little bit unnatural, but at least it's soft and it's pleasant and it's not as rustic and it's a little bit more composed in place and it represents the grandeur of Burgundy a little bit better than Hautes-Côtes de Nuits does. This is just Côte de Nuits. I like the nose a lot. I think it's got some of that broken in shoe thing just from being open for 3 days, but that's on me. I was trying to get something out of this. I was trying to get them to, I was trying to tame these a little bit. It's got some dark cherry, a really nice fruit to it, but also this astringent tannin and this crazy bitter herb thing that honestly is in the way of everything. I don't know that it's going to get tamed. It doesn't feel like a wine that's built by design to do something. I'm probably wrong about this. I hope I am proven wrong. It's got a savoriness to it, and if I drank this in a wine bar, I'd be a little bit happier at least. It's got more oomph to it. It's got more Burgundy to it. Much more balanced approach to the fruit and the flavors, and still too much astringency on the finish. And this is 20 euros more than it's 80 euros a bottle. No, not on. I guess the way to sum it up is, for me, Jeremy Recchione is a white wine producer. I think there's other producers where I'd rather spend my money right now. To each their own. I mean, your mileage may vary. Drinking wine is an experience, and an experience is very personal. It needs your background and your input to shape it into what it's going to be. And from that perspective, maybe I'm too demanding on these. I don't know. I think it's a lot of fucking money. That's all, you know. I mean, my issue with Venature in the first place was they were faulty half the time, and then when they weren't faulty, they were rustic, or they were just ill-judged. It feels rushed. It just feels rushed, like there was a zillion other things to do or something. The whole figgy you make it thing is fine. I think that's how people should get their start, and et cetera, et cetera. But I think when you're doing that, then you can't be charging 80 or 100 euros for a bottle of wine. It's a bit presumptuous. So I'm not going to speak ill of these things anymore. I'm really still happy, very happy to have tried them. I wanted to get it off the list. I did it. I'm personally not going to buy them anymore. You might, but I'm not going to. 2023 Les Horées de Coteaux, Bourguignons. I'm getting mixed messages on what it's comprised of. Apparently it's 50% Gamay and 50% Pinot. But then other sources say it's 60% Pinot and 40% Gamay. And I even read somewhere where it said 70-30 split. So what do we got in the glass? This is a bright purple. It's very, very young. Obviously, it's 2023. It's the latest vintage of this. I've chilled it off. You can probably see that in the glass. Beautiful dark cherry nose. It's very dark cherry. A bit spicy too, like a little bit Christmas spice almost. Clovey and cinnamony. But a brighter cinnamon, you know, a sweet cinnamon. Oh, wow. That's a fun mouthful. I mean, I would err on the side of Beaujolais before I would err on the side of Pinot. But it would have to be one of those super cuvées from Beaujolais that they've been making lately. They have so much depth. It's very dark. But there's no like wood roast to it. There's none of that sort of tarnish to it. There's none of that kind of feel about it. Lovely mid palate, very dense, very almost like the atoms are packed together, you know, like they're just jammed in there. Every little cell in this is just brimming with fruit and flavor and deliciousness. It's really good in that sense. It smells a bit of the barn, a touch of the earth maybe more than the barn. Maybe the land around the barn. How about that? So it has a French pastoral feel of something la-di-da-di-da in the countryside in France. And, you know, you stop on the side of the road and you pop it and have a picnic. But it has a little bit more importance than that to it. I like it very much. I think there's something going on here. I think it needs to settle down for probably a couple of years in bottle. It has that sort of chutzpah. Not super long, but a very broad mid-palate and a very dense mid-palate. But no great shakes lengthwise, anything like that. I don't think it's a super mineral wine either. I get more and more that horse, that barn, that earth. Really, really good. It gets a rose. The 2022 Saint-Aubin Premier Cru Le Charmois from Domaine Lamy-Pillot. I've never tried a Saint-Aubin before that I can remember. I probably have in a restaurant or something like that along the way, but not that I remember. I haven't gone out of my way for them. It says 2,880 bottles produced. There's some pretty good information on the back there. You can see for yourself. What do we got in the glass? Oh, look at that color, beautiful limpid gold. Nice, clean, as one would expect from a young Burgundy white. I've been drinking a lot of young white Burgundies. I realize that. But man, they're so great. And right now, for some reason, they're all high quality and, you know, within range. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. There's a green ferniness to this, some lime, very spring watery finesse sort of sense to the nose. Yeah, oh yeah, that lime zest even, it's fairly, maybe not aggressive, but it's zingy for sure. This is super young. It's way too young to be drinking this. The guy in the store told me it's too young. I ignored him. I thought it was a good wine at the price. I wanted to drink it. I don't see these very often. Yeah, lime zest. It's very buttery. There's a lot of butter to this. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous mouthfeel just because of that butteriness. But it's kind of coming just at another level, just under all of that lime zest, that fairly aggressive, citrusy sort of thing. And then there's a lot of wood. This is so kissed by new wood. They must be using a fair amount of new wood in this. It's going to take some time, and hopefully this fruit because the fruit is so clean and so pure and so well balanced. And I love that butteriness so I'm just hoping it overtakes that wood imprint, which is, I mean, it's there, it's present. A fairly light-bodied wine with some advance. This'll become a really well-balanced wine. It should become a really well-balanced wine. I don't know if I'd go in on cases and cases of it personally. Just I think there's other similar values out there. But it is a very good wine. The reason I'm a little hesitant here is that wood thing. It is going to have to overcome that. But if it does, this is going to be a super wine. Super Premier Cru, perfect for a wine list, perfect for a lobster dinner, you know. I like it. I like it with reservations. Roses with reservations. How's that? 2017 Blagny sous le dos d'un Premier Cru from Chapelle de Blagny. This is a producer I've never heard of. Certainly haven't drank any of their wines. On the back, you can read it for yourself if you like, if you're that interested. Not my favorite vintage. I don't think anybody's favorite vintage, certainly for reds, especially coming after 16 and 15, for instance. Great vintages, both red and white. What do we got in the glass? And this, we can see it's already aged. I mean, you can see it's a little bit tired. Get the windows open. It's very warm in Paris right now. Starting to see some age, a little bit of, not orange, but dulling of the red around the edges. A little like plum liqueurish on the nose. Kind of high-toned. It smells like a wine from the south. When I say the south, I mean south of Côte de Nuits. They tend to have this high acid, that kind of cellar nose and flavor profile, and this has that quite a lot. This is really high acidity, quite thin. There's a bit of cherry, a bit of maybe just a bit of strawberry, but it's a very old-fashioned style here. These are the old-fashioned Beaune wines that fell out of favor for a lot of people. Some people swear by them. I don't. And personally, I find them a little too rustic. A nice little perfume, but this is too thin and too unimpressive on too many levels. It doesn't really have any weight. It doesn't have any presence. It's not speaking about anything. It just is. It's just wine. I have a problem with these types of wines in the sense that they color the perception of Burgundy for people who are not familiar with Burgundy, because they're still accessible from a price perspective, even though they're still high price, right? So if you're not comfortable with Burgundy in the first place on the prices, you're spending more than you want to, even if it's quite low cost for Burgundy. And then you get a wine like this and you go, I don't understand what's so good about Burgundy. I mean, Burgundy suck. It's Premier Cru, you know, it says all the right things on a label. And then you get this wine that tastes of the cellar, and, you know, the argument from some circles will be, oh, just wait, you know, and give it some time. And it's kind of like, well, I don't believe that. Maybe it'll be a little bit better with time, but it's not worth waiting on. There's not enough there to make it worth your while to wait. And so then your perception of Burgundy in general becomes very, you know, you think, well, it's very ungenerous. It doesn't yield any treasures. It doesn't yield any pleasure. I think we all know where this is headed. All of these are fairly entry-level Burgundies. The biggest difference between them is there's the low intervention to Vin Nature school compared to the traditional established producer, and who got the roses and who got the raspberries. The Vin Nature still has a little bit of work to do. I suppose if you're going to try to change Burgundy for the better, because that's what I think is happening, and I applaud that effort. I don't think at the same time you can be trying to pull my pants down around my ankles and charge me 60, 80, 100 euros a bottle for a bottle of wine. And then at least it has to be clean. It has to be a well-balanced wine. I don't care if it's an outperformer. I do, but I don't. I mean, but it at least has to be, you know, drinkable. Isn't that the least I should be able to expect? So, bish. Yeah, if I had to pick a corner, I'm not picking one because I'm going to drink as long as it's good wine. I don't care what it classifies itself as. It would be in the more traditional producers, just would be. There's no doubt about it in my mind, even at the entry level. Yeah, that's what I had for this time. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? Are you in one camp or the other? Do you care? Do you like Burgundy? I promise I'll drink some other wines from somewhere else. one of these fine days coming very soon, I'm sure. Until then, thanks a lot for watching, and see you next time.